auction house was a cavern of shadows, the concrete floor cold and unforgiving, while dim bulbs overhead cast jittery reflections on every surface. Dust motes drifted lazily in the sweaty air, as if they too had nowhere else to be. In the centre of this neglect lay a German shepherd, its ribs tracing the outline of bones beneath a dull, matted coat. Scars crisscrossed its flank, like a map of every wound ever inflicted, each one a silent testament to a life full of pain. From the sidelines, someone sneered, "Damaged goods," and another chuckled, the sound harsh as gravel. The auctioneer's voice scraped through the murmurs. Starting bid, $50. Nothing stirred, no hands, no hopeful glances, only amused laughter at the sight of a broken dog. Then, a chair scraped. Daniel Carter, face half swallowed by shadows, rose. His voice was quiet but firm. "I'll take him." In that suffocating pause, every head snapped around. No one moved, no one spoke, just the crackling anticipation of something nobody saw coming. Daniel's old truck rattled over the dusty back roads, stirring clouds of ochre dust that danced behind them. In the rearview mirror, the dog lay as still as a statue, its world reduced to the dull thrum of tires on gravel. No whimper, no flinch, just that emptiness that mirrored Daniel's own. 3 years ago, he had been firefighter Carter, fearless, unstoppable, until the blaze in an old warehouse stole his best friend. And with him, Daniel's will to keep running toward danger. Now, guilt clung to him like second skin, and in the dog's hollow eyes, he saw the echo of his own broken spirit. With each bump in the road, his grip on the steering wheel tightened, as if he could hold both their shattered lives together. The truck door swung open with a reluctant groan. The dog did not stir, did not leap away. It remained a statue of sorrow. "You're not broken," Daniel whispered, stepping back. His words hung between them, as heavy as the setting sun that painted the horizon in bruised purples and golds. He walked away without looking back, leaving the door wide. Minutes later, a soft shuffle, and there the dog stood, body taut with tension, eyes darting not with hope, but with a bruised despair. It padded a few steps, then settled near the fence, facing the fading light. Daniel exhaled, not with relief, but with something unnameable, as they both watched night descend like a velvet curtain. Dawn arrived on gentle paws with Dr. Olivia Reynolds' arrival. She smiled, holding a thermos and a clipboard. "Have you named him yet?" she asked. But before Daniel could answer, she unzipped her medical bag. The instant metal met fur. The dog's growl was volcanic, a visceral roar of terror that shook its frame and sent its claws digging into the porch. Olivia closed her bag and lowered her voice to a soft murmur. "He's not aggressive. He's terrified." Daniel's chest tightened. He recognized that raw panic from the nightmares that still stalked his sleep. Olivia said quietly that she suspected medical trauma, experiments perhaps, and left behind a bowl of food. They waited, but the sun climbed high and the bowl remained untouched. Both human and dog lingered in that silent standoff, bound by memories neither wanted to name. Late that afternoon, the sky darkened as if in anger. A storm ripped across the ranch, rattling windows and making the rafters groan. The dog's terror, already raw, erupted. It trembled so violently it seemed to shatter into a million shards of fear. Each thunderclap was a hammer blow, and when the dog thrashed itself against the fence, blood spattered the wood. Daniel didn't hesitate. He sprinted through the downpour, dropping to his knees in the mud, arms open but hands still. "I know," he said, voice steady against the roar. "I know what this feels like." He spoke of the nightmares, of the night he couldn't save his friend. His words wove a tether in the storm, and bit by bit the dog's breathing evened, its body uncoiling as it looked at him, eyes finally meeting his with something like recognition. When the storm subsided, Olivia returned, clutching a thick, weathered folder sealed with a faded emblem. "I found something," she said, voice urgent. Daniel pried open the seal. The first page proclaimed the dog's true name, Rex, and revealed a life he'd never guessed. Special Forces K9, covert deployments, every mission classified. Then the worst blow. Status, terminated, unfit for re-engagement. Instead of an honourable retirement, someone had quietly shipped Rex to an auction block. And between his last deployment and this moment lay 6 blank months, an abyss in the record. Daniel looked at Rex, whose posture had shifted from terror to something darker: betrayal. Later that night, headlights cleaved the dark. A black SUV slid to a halt at the edge of the ranch, and two men emerged, their posture too controlled, too practiced. "Mr. Carter," one began smoothly, "we're here for the dog." Rex rose, a sleek soldier reborn, slipping between Daniel and the intruders. The men stepped forward, confidence frayed by the unspoken threat in Rex's gaze. Daniel's voice was low and ironclad. "He's not for sale." The tension crackled until the men withdrew, promising with every measured step away that this was only the beginning. 3 days later, Olivia called with a name: Major Robert Kane. Once head of a classified K-9 program, he'd vanished amid abuse allegations, resurfacing now at the helm of a private security firm. His next showcase? 3 days from now. A private event, hidden behind high fences and tighter lips. Daniel's jaw clenched. "We end this," he vowed, looking at Rex, whose every muscle rippled with fierce readiness. Under cover of darkness, Daniel and Rex slipped into Kane's isolated training compound. Rex tore through locks with practiced jaws, unleashing cages of terrified dogs whose eyes mirrored his own old despair. Outside, Kane stormed through alarms, fury in his gleaming eyes. "You think you can save them?" he spat. But Rex, electric with purpose, struck first, teeth finding flesh, a single breath-stealing blow. Daniel moved like a ghost, dispensing precise justice. Within moments, Kane's men lay incapacitated, and distant sirens heralded their victory. Rex stood over Kane, no longer a broken tool, but a warrior who'd reclaimed his honor. 4 days later, sunlight glinted on the windows of a newly opened sanctuary. Daniel and Olivia watched as rescued dogs tentatively explored grassy yards. Among them, Rex moved with quiet authority, stopping beside a small, trembling pup. Instead of barking, he lowered his head in gentle solidarity, as if saying, "I was lost once too, but you're not alone." The little dog inched closer, trust kindling in its eyes. Daniel felt a swell of something he hadn't known in years: hope. As a soft breeze carried the scent of fresh grass and promise, Rex lifted his head, eyes steady, unbroken. And for the first time, both man and dog knew their journey had only just begun. The golden light of late afternoon stretched across the sanctuary grounds, warming the soft earth underfoot as Daniel watched Rex move among the recovering dogs. His coat, once dull and scarred, now gleamed like burnished bronze in the sun's embrace. Every step Rex took was measured and calm, a silent promise to those still trembling that they too could find safety here. A gentle breeze carried the mixed scents of fresh hay and pine trees, drifting through open windows where laughter and low whimpers mingled in hopeful harmony. Daniel breathed in that scent, letting it fill spaces in his chest he hadn't known were empty until now. But even as he felt the promise of healing, a small voice inside him whispered that the darkness they'd escaped was never truly gone. Later, as shadows lengthened and the sanctuary's lights flickered on one by one, Daniel found himself alone on the porch, with Rex by his side. The soft murmur of water from the nearby trough and the distant bark of a newly freed pup formed a quiet symphony around them. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out the crumpled file seal, the last fragment of Rex's old life. Fingers trembling, he traced the faded emblem, remembering how it had once represented betrayal and pain. Now, in that moment, it felt like a challenge to forge a new emblem of hope. He looked at Rex, whose ears twitched at every sound, no longer in terror, but in alert curiosity. Daniel whispered, "We'll make sure no one ever forgets what they did to you." There, in the hush of dusk, man and dog shared a vow that no force, however cruel, would ever break them again. Morning came too soon, carried on a crisp wind that tousled Daniel's hair as he opened the sanctuary doors. One by one, the dogs greeted him. Some with cautious sniffs, others with leaping joy, so sudden it made his heart clench with both surprise and pride. Among them, Rex held back, watching Daniel with those clear, unwavering eyes. It struck Daniel then that leadership wasn't about barking orders or forcing change. It was about standing steady when everything else trembled. He bowed his head to Rex, and the dog padded forward, pressing a reassuring weight against Daniel's leg. The unspoken exchange was simple yet profound. They were partners in this work, bound by shared scars and the promise of redemption. Yet as the sanctuary buzzed with life, Daniel felt the faint echo of Cain's threats. Like distant thunder, still rumbling beyond the horizon. That afternoon, Olivia arrived with fresh coffee and a stack of new files. Names, histories, hopes for more dogs who needed rescue. She caught Daniel's eye and offered a small, wry smile. "Ready for the next chapter?" she asked. Daniel returned her smile, though his thoughts flickered to the men who tried to steal Rex, to the experiments hidden in classified binders, and to the ones still out there who believed they could break what they didn't understand. "Always," he replied. Voice steady. In that single word lay both confidence and a challenge, like a gauntlet thrown at fate's feet. Together they stepped into the bright morning, the sanctuary gates wide open, and Daniel knew that while this haven would save many lives, it would also draw dark eyes from afar. Eyes that would see Rex's strength and wish to exploit it. But for now, as golden sunlight filtered through the pine boughs, Daniel and Rex stood side by side, ready to face whatever storms might come. They had weathered the fiercest tempest of all, betrayal and self-doubt, and emerged unbroken. And as the sanctuary stirred around them, two survivors, bound by trust, turned toward tomorrow, their silhouettes etched against the promise of new beginnings.